Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm your host, KJ. And this is my spoiler review for episode 5 for the new Disney Plus series by Star Wars Skeleton Crew. This is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen this, pause this, give me a thumbs up because that would help my YouTube channel grow. Go watch all the episodes, including this one. Come back, listen to the spoiler review, and let me know what you think below the comments. Let me know how you feel about the show, what's your theories. I want to know it all in the comments below, so hook me up, people. Let's go. But again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now let's get into it. This episode begins with SM-33, who promised he is not going to attack the kids again, telling a story of his old captain, Tak Renan. Not only is his name is Renan, it is a cool nod to the Goonies director Richard Donner, but he is clearly a Captain John Silver along. Once the most notorious and feared captain in the galaxy, Renan grew up paranoid of his own crew and had his own treasure hidden deep, deep in the mountains in a lair that has now turned into a spa. It was once called a demon wrath, the battle of the worlds, but now it's a resort. Lavish resort with a spa, and it's a planet full of pleasures and yachts. SM-33 is hilariously disgusted by this, having a full-blown meltdown, and it's so bad the guards over there had to put this machine on him, so every time he just says something or tries to do something, he gets electrocuted. And we discover that John Norwood meets an old friend who's out for his bounty, and again, everybody's telling these kids, don't trust him. And we learn why we don't trust this guy. And he has a big bounty on his head. And now he's, this old friend of his, she's trying to see if these kids got some money on them too, because, she can capture them. But we know, the big bad wolf and his crew is coming to find these kids and John Norwood, as we think, because they send his men down there. And during that, this becomes more of a whole episode of watching the Goonies, basically. Like I said earlier, there was a nod to it, but this is like a full-blown Goonies film, but just in one episode, and it's a Star Wars version. A lot of fun, a lot of comedy. You're seeing these kids trying to be sneaky, but they're so silly and goofy. And now we see John Norwood be the parent, and he's trying to let them know, hey, take this serious. And all these kids want to do their play because obviously they're kids. And they learn the hard way too, as we learn that right after John Norwood got the coordinations to the treasure, and they didn't need to go to Atten for that. We heard Fern say, you promised us, And obviously, some reason he challenges her to be captain and forces her to kneel. So now SM-33 follows John Norwood as his captain now. But luckily, the kids escape with that booby trap thanks to Whim. And it was really weird. This one, I kind of conflicted with it because in the early of this episode, you see John Norwood be very like a father figure, big brother to Whim, and explain you just need to focus on the thing you want to do, basically with the Force or whatever. Because even in that scene where it was John Norwood versus Fern in that little battle throwdown gauntlet thing, we see Whim use the lightsaber, and we can see John Norwood was kind of hoping that he would get it, but it scared him, obviously. He's just a kid, right? Whim's just a kid. But he seemed disappointed, And it just seems kind of off. Like, this is how they would make this character turn like evil or the bad guy, right? Turn heel, basically, in wrestling terms. But whatever, it didn't make sense to me, just for the fact that I feel like this point at this moment where he turned on those kids, I feel like it didn't get executed correctly. Like, I feel like they should have waited just like 2 more episodes, then pulled that trigger, because at this point, I think me and like I think everybody else of Star Wars fans thought John Norwood was going to be the good guy, the good Jedi, but I guess not. But there's always that idea too. They left it where maybe this was part of his plan, and this is how he's going to protect those kids, or maybe he just was scum like that. But they're teasing both sides, and obviously this is how that episode ends. But there's a lot of comedy, kids comedy, like you would get from the Goonies or the Little Rascals type movies, and it had a lot of those elements in this episode, and I really like that too, because obviously Skeleton Crew is focusing on these young kids who are going to become young adults in this Star Wars universe, and where do they place and where do they go in their path. But they're learning a lot of life lessons and the harsh reality of how to trust people and how people are outside different galaxies, different environments, different ways of living, and different rules, and it scares them. So it depends where they're going to go with it, but it's really interesting to see where it ends. So I'm really curious, and I like this episode, of course, but it wasn't my favorite episode. I think it wasn't executed correctly with John Norwood turning on those kids. Again, it's not about the idea of him turning on the kids. It's just I feel like they placed it at the wrong place at the wrong time. I feel like that should have been built up just a little bit more with at least 2 more episodes to kind of get you. Like, this was kind of like we just started warming up to him, and now you're just going to pull the rug. And I felt like that was kind of lackluster with it. But that's my only complaint about that. I just want to get that one out the way. But what I did like about this, again, I think it was a fun, exciting episode to watch. I like the idea of, like, we're watching these kids grow and mature through these life experience. And I also just like where this is kind of going. It feels like a pirate show for sure. And a lot of plot twists, and I think that's very important to have in this type of series. And I'm loving it as far, but again, this wasn't my favorite episode. But let's get into some topics. The one topic I want to bring up is Wim. Wim activated a lightsaber, even though he was scared of it, but the idea that he could do it and was amazing. So he has the Jedi potential, right? And his color was blue. Now, I know how you make a lightsaber turn red. I know that, but it's very interesting too, because it's a story where it kind of reminds me of Anakin Skywalker. So Wim has a father that's alive, so he's very emotional attached to him, right? And we see that, okay? And because you remember in the first the beginning of this episode too was all the kids' parents are trying to plot and figure out where their kids at, and they're trying to do it underneath the radar, off the books type thing. And it's becoming more difficult because this could lead into a big secret, because there's a reason why that Atten is hitting so well. And what type of treasure does they have that every pirate wants? Is it tons and tons and tons of old Republican, credit, all gold credit? I don't know. But it'd be very interesting to see where that goes, of course. So there's a lot of that, but to see Wim do that, so he obviously cares about his dad, and that can lead you to the dark side to make you become a Sith Lord. Like, you know, we see he believed in John Norwood because he was a Jedi, and now he's broke his heart. It's just somewhat like Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, Anakin Skywalker's heart's been broken by the Jedi way, basically. And this kid didn't even know the Jedi way yet. And it's going to be interesting, but he does have the potential to become a Jedi. Just the fact that he could get that lightsaber activated, it was pretty amazing. So I'm rooting for Wim. What I like about this too is Fern. They let her be more of a kid, not the serious one out of the group. And she's heartbroken, really heartbroken, because, she doesn't let anybody in her life, and she doesn't just trust anybody else. So she's really heartbroken. And like Neil, my favorite character, it just shows I think he won't take it as personal, but I think he's studying it, trying to understand and comprehend everything in a educational way. So I think he's going to be the one in the next episode that kind of gives that rah speech and gets everybody kind of motivated and pump up and want to escape alive, get back home alive, basically. So I think that's where they're going to go with that, to me, with that character for Neil. And let's talk about the final topic, John Norwood. I think, again, I'm predicting that he didn't turn evil. And I believe that this is just part of his plan to protect those kids. I don't think he would do it, but I have a feeling that that prediction might not become right. And that's why I'm nitpicking at how I felt like they didn't execute that particular scene with him. So that's why I'm saying that. But if this prediction's right, then I won't nag about it no more, basically. So I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping that this is just part of his plan to protect those kids and everything's going to work out great. So that's what I'm hoping with that. Again, not my favorite episode, just because it was just in one spot and it didn't really take us nowhere. And, they didn't really hype up the fact that they got the coordinates to Aten, and I didn't feel the passion with it, but that's about it. But other than that, I like it. I like the series so far. I think it's not a bad series, and I think it's going to be a good season 1 to me personally. But that's my review. If I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'll give it a 6. Again, not my favorite, but it has some good things, some good highlights that I think it's important to remember. And just the idea, the parents are trying to find their kids, and the fact that they have to be sneaky about it is a very interesting highlight moment of this episode. So that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment Official Channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.